Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So, continuing this little mini-series of playing all of the loner decks in Master Rank. A couple of days ago, because we had the viewer special yesterday, so the other day, we were playing the Cyber Dragon structure deck, or the loner deck, rather, on ladder, and now we're going to be pivoting over to Eldlich. So, I know I said in the last video that I thought Eldlich was probably just the second best with the Evil Twin deck, which we're going to see tomorrow, in tomorrow's video, that loner deck being played in Master Ladder. I said that I thought this one was the second best, and the Twin deck was the best one. I think that I generally still hold that statement, although now that I've actually played all three, I think it's actually pretty close between the Eldlich deck and the Live/Evil Twin deck being the best one. So the Live Evil Twin deck is like very well built as far as the main deck goes. However, without a fleshed out extra deck, it does actually become kind of difficult to combo and do efficient lines with that deck sometimes, which I think is that particular deck's biggest weakness. But again, we'll talk about that more tomorrow when we actually talk about the Live/Evil Twin deck. The advantage that the Eldlich deck does have over that one in this regard is the fact that we don't really need to set up specific combo lines, right, in order to make plays. This is Eldlich in its pretty much purest form, right? We have almost half our deck being trap cards, and yes, we do have quite a few continuous trap cards that are not particularly popular. They are, in fact, going to be some floodgates, but you know what? It's like it's a party Yu-Gi-Oh! So, well, it shouldn't be. I don't know. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm not a fan of playing against stun. I'm not the biggest fan of stun in the world at all. That said, I do acknowledge that back row decks in general, including stun, are an important part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ecosystem. I've said it before, I'll say it again. A lot of y'all really seem to hate decks like Snake Eye and Super Heavy Samurai that are 20 combo pieces and 20 hand traps. But if we didn't have back row decks in Yu-Gi-Oh!, that's what every single deck would be like, without having to take into account stuff like stun and control decks like Lab and the like. You know, we are in a meta where it's all about combos and stopping combos. And again, every deck then very much becomes half engine, half hand traps. So, like, literally every single deck, unlike now where it's like, it feels like it's every deck, but it's really just because of the particular meta that we're in with Snake Eye right now, right? So, as far as what I think about this loner deck in particular, again, I think it's actually pretty well constructed. Like, if I ran into this deck, if I got matched against this deck on ladder, again, 10 card extra deck aside, I would be like, huh, it's kind of weird that I'm on a third Ash Blossom or Maxis, but this just seems fine, you know? I don't think it's a horrible main deck list at all. The funny part about it is that there are 2 Pot of Extravagance in here. And for those of you who are wondering about that, by the way, it's like, why does Eldlich get to have 2 extra? Konami just clearly like stun the best. No, it's because, again, this is a 1-to-1 recreation of an IRL product in the OCG, and in the OCG, Extravagance is not limited. So, in the interest of not complicating things too much and letting players, again, have that 1-to-1 translation of trying the deck in Master Duel and then going to be able to buy it IRL, they have kept it intact. Plus, again, the second Extrav is not a big deal at all, like, especially with a 10-card extra deck. Funnily enough, the second Extrav kind of doesn't matter because we're on a 10-card extra deck, right? We can only banish 6 once. Oh, we don't have the ability to do it again. So if we draw another Extrav on, like, the follow-up turn, it's like, cool, I'll draw 1, I guess? Sure. So, but, yeah, no, I think that overall this deck is fairly competent in its construction. I think my biggest complaint about the main deck is actually that we're only on one of each Zombie World, Banshee, and, well, Balradrak is fine to play one of, but only one of each of the Banshee and the Zombie World. Like, if you're gonna be on that package, I think you need probably 2 of each. Oh, and then also, like, what is Lightning Storm doing here in this deck? What is Cosmic Cyclone doing in this deck? I mean, again, you all know how I feel about this card, but I especially don't know what Lightning Storm is doing here in particular, especially considering we're playing Floodgates. It's like, we should expect to have face-up cards on our field a reasonable amount of the time, and this is definitely not a going second deck, but at the same time, like I've said before, I don't think it's horrible that these decks are not optimized. Like, again, I see that comment still of people being like, why are these decks optimized? Why would you give new players bad decks? It's because, again, the idea is that we're letting players discover what is wrong with the deck so that way they can fix it themselves. And again, it comes back to hand a person an optimized deck, they can duel for a day. Teach a person to make an optimized deck, they can duel for a lifetime, you know? So it makes sense, right? This would be one of the first cards I think most players would be like, yeah, why is this in the deck? And then they take it out, and then congratulations, you're learning about deck building. So, again, I think these are very, very good products, and I would love to see them in the TCG. But I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about the list here. I mean, obviously more Solemns would be better too, but again, for the most part, I think this is a decently competent deck here. I'm not going to break it down card by card because, of course, if you want to see it yourself, you just pop onto the loader section of the Ranked Ladder tab. Let's take a look at some of our games here. Let's check those out. Okay, so our first game is going to be against Kashtira Snake Eye. And I'm going to warn you, this is a 15-turn game we're about to get into here. And from our opening hand, you can probably already guess who the main culprit of that is. So, yeah, here I'm just going to summon the Banshee, set 3 and pass. Not really much else I can do. Pretty typical turn 1, though, for the Eldlich deck, too, of course. Just set a bunch of cards. Opponent's going to draw phase Wanted, then go for the Kashtira Unicorn. And that is when I flip up the Gozen match. Without much other recourse, opponent's going to move to battle phase. Unicorn can start picking away at my extra deck. The Intis getting banished actually does matter for my 1 copy of Dogmatica Punishment, but... Oh, also, I have to talk about this in particular. So, when my opponent very conspicuously set a back row directly across from Gozen match, you better believe that's the card I'm going to use Cosmic Cyclone on. And, of course, it does end up being the Infinite Impermanence. Of course, if I had a monster on the field, they could have used Imperm, negated not only the monster, but also the Gozen, and then comboed off, like, on their turn, right? So, definitely want to nip that in the bud right now. Also going to Banshee play Zombie World during the end phase, so that way I don't top deck it for turn, right? Like, I don't need Zombie World to be on the field right now, but again, if I end up top decking it, I would be extremely sad it was there. Speaking of extremely sad, I'm very sad to see this call by hit my Eldlich here. That's actually going to be one of the main things that kind of turns this into a more grindy game, is the simple fact that I did not get this Eldlich to stick here. So now I'm in a situation where I don't really have too much I can do. But sit on this Gozen, and the opponent doesn't have much they can do besides sit on their Unicorn under the Gozen, because of course, I think Wind was an especially great attribute to catch this deck on. Obviously, if they had a Fire Monster when I flipped Gozen, they would not have nearly as hard of a time making plays here, right? Going to use the Conquistador, by the way, not even really to block damage, but mostly just to start setting trap cards from my deck, right? Yeah, because during the end phase, I can use the Conquistador effect in order to set the Sanguine. But yeah, no, like I said, Wind, great attribute to catch them on. Unicorn might be the only Wind monster in that main or extract, now that I think about it. Fire, they would obviously still be able to make plays. See, that's the thing, right? Like, there's a lot of situations for this Gozen in this matchup to not be good, but here we actually did manage to catch them in a pretty good spot. As far as the Floodgates go, like, Skill Drain would have been fine, Rivalry would have been fine, There Can Be Only One would have been fine. I think Gozen is actually our weakest Floodgate against Snake Eye, but again, thanks to the Kashtira Unicorn, it's actually just still enough to get us there, so... also, I think they ashed our first Scarlet Sanguine there. They did, yep. Which, when, you know, when they're drawing and passing so much, it is pretty likely for them to have the outs there. Here they are going to maxi. I'm not going to Ash Blossom. I'm like, they can have 1 draw. That's fine with me. Alright, finally sticking another Eldlich to the board here. I don't know why they battled anyway, but... Alright, so we got Sanguine F setting a Conquistador. I decided to crash here. Might not have been like the super smartest idea in the world, because now they can summon things other than Wind, but I don't need the Zombie World. I want my Eldlich to have boosted stats. Oh, this was a bad play on my part. I was like, oh, I'll Quack Hero because they can banish Unicorn. They can't bring it back with Birth. And also, like, well, what? But I'll just simply use the Conquistador here and destroy the Birth. So, mainly I just used my Quack Hero a little too early. Could have saved that for something else, but... we do still have both Torrential and the Gold Land Forever, which is kind of cool. So, opponent decides to summon a Diabell here. I guess that was the only thing big enough to battle over my stuff. And also still stand up to Eldlich, right? Although, again, I can just crash the Eldlich, too. Okay, Huaquero is going to get rid of a Jet Synchron. I think also on top of the Gozen here, it's kind of looking like their hand is not that great. They pitched Flamberge for Diabell. They set a Jet Synchron. They also didn't use the Diabell F, which I thought was kind of interesting, but... And then there's Valor. Yeah, so I think on top of getting floodgated by Gozen here, they're just not on that great of a hand right now. Okay, now they're using Diabell to set the original Sin. We're definitely going to set Imperm directly across from that, for sure. Once again, going to cycle the Eldlich back onto the field with the buffed stats. And then end phasing it to use the Huaquero effect to set an Elixir of Black Awakening. Still sitting on the Gold Land Forever, the counter trap as well, in case they do find a really scary out, right? So they're going to set a monster in a back row before passing back over to me. Got another Eldlich here. Which was actually not a bad top deck at all. Yeah, I'm going to battle over the face down monster. I'll let them keep Dark as their attribute on field. Also, yeah, look at that Ash Blossom. So on top of getting Gozen, they just did not have plays, it looks like. Alright, Wraitsoth. I decided to Ash Blossom that just because like, I didn't really have much other use for my Ash Blossom at this point. They're going to use a Call By. I'm going to flip the Gold Land Forever. Because I don't want them to crash the Diabell into the Eldlich and then be able to summon like a Fenrir, right? That would be very, very not good for me if they started banishing my Eldliches. Alright, so that does end up resolving. And again, we know what this last face down card is. It's Original Sin. We can Imperm and negate it. Well, no, we can't. Because then they won't have a monster on the field. Unless they send like the field spell, right? But again, they're not even able to do that right now because of the Gozen. Dogmatic Punishment. My opponent's Unicorn has long since banished anything worth sending off that. So I can just set it and bring back Eldlich. And there you go. So, you know, it's funny. Like... I'm sure some people don't find it funny, but I find it kind of funny. I can kind of understand the stun mentality, though. Like, it is a little funny to see your opponent kind of flail in the face of, like, a single floodgate. Again, I'm actually surprised Gozen got us as far as it did, because of all the floodgates options we have, this was the worst one against Snake Eye. But thanks to them summoning Unicorn and then Diabell, and also not having a great hand, we were able to still stop them from making any amount of plays. Well, not any amount, but most of their plays there. Again, I know a lot of people probably find games like the one we just had very frustrating, but, you know, it's how control decks win. Like, control decks want the game to go on longer. Control and Stun are kind of different, but Stun is, like, adjacent enough to control. Like, they generally care about the same thing, the game going on longer, the opponent doing less things, etc., etc. So, but yeah, got a couple more games, a few more games actually to see. So let's check out the next one. Okay, so this opponent is going to be on a hero deck. Don't remember quite who gets the first turn here. Oh, looks like we do. Good. Yeah, because this is one of those decks where, like, I mentioned before, like, it's weird that we have Lightning Storm because we're not a going second deck, but we're not just not a going second deck. We are very much a deck that cares a lot, and I mean a lot, about going first. Because, you know, for back row decks, you gotta set the back row for them to be useful, right? And generally speaking, going first makes that much easier to do. So, they're going to lead by calling for a Stratos. I'm going to flip the Sanguine. I wanted to Sanguine up mostly so that the Conquistador and Huaquero bonus effects would be live. They are going to get to use a Maxi, which very much complicates things. Now, you wouldn't expect Maxi to be really good against Eldlich, right? But in this particular game state, that Maxi is actually brutally good. Because my other forms of disruption are special summons, right? The trap monsters. So I can't really disrupt my opponent here without also giving them more draws into more extenders, thereby, you know, having more plays. I am going to use the Huaquero here on the Denier, because that will not only stop that body from hitting the board, but it'll also stop them from recycling the Malicious. So I figured that was worth it to stop multiple summons and give them one draw. Alright, Cross Crusader sacking off the Mali for the Stratos. They still have 2 Stratos in hand, I think. They haven't used the first one, have they? I'm a little surprised they didn't battle at all here, not even over. Although, to be fair, they probably didn't want me to cycle it for the end phase effect, which would make sense. So, Cosmic Cyclone is going to end up trying to eat one of their back rows, but DPE can target that same back row and pop my other one, which thankfully is the Conquistador, and lets me set up a Scarlet Sanguine here. Rivalry of the Warlords, actually literally the worst floodgate I could have drawn against Hero. It does not matter against them at all, because everything in that deck is a warrior type anyway, so... Well, I guess to be fair, with Zombie World up now, they can't do extra deck summoning, right? But at the same time, they have this DP, so they can just pop the Zombie World or the Rivalry at a moment's notice, really. I'm going to try to do the Vampire Sucker draw here, but they actually Veiler it. And I can just bring back my Eldlich by getting rid of this Lightning Storm. Again, what is this Lightning Storm doing in this deck? Also, Oof called by. That's the thing about Eldlich, though. For being a like stun/control/back row based deck, it is still susceptible to a lot of the stuff that is good against meta decks in general, right? Again, Maxi was very good against us here. Graveyard Hate in general is very good against us, and yep, as you can see, DPE just immediately popping Zombie World, making Rivalry of the Warlords extremely useless here in this particular matchup. But that's the thing about Floodgates, and that's the thing that makes it so good that they're limited, is that they are, or they can be, very matchup dependent, certain ones, as if they're actually going to be good. Like, think about, like, Mathmech as well, right? Like, that's another deck where the Rivalry would just do absolutely nothing. In fact, I think both Hero and Mathmech could even consider playing Rivalry themselves. So, yeah, as Stratos threatens to blow up all my back rows, which, by the way, not a lot of people know that Stratos can do that. In addition to searching, it can also just blow up back rows, but... yeah, with as many hero monsters as they have, they just threaten to blow up all my back rows, and I know at that point I don't really realistically have a chance of coming back, so I'm just going to concede and give it to them there. Got a couple more games to see. Let's check out the next one. Alright, got a game here against Salamangreat. I said it before in the This Week in Master Duel video that went out a few days ago, but I am so thrilled that Sal is receiving as much attention as it is. I hope that stays. I really do, because Salad is a deck that really deserves that attention. Yet again, we get to go first here. You'll notice a trend that these are pretty much all going to be going first games, because, like, again, it's true of most control decks in general, but especially, like, even an Eldlich deck. Oh, also, here Rivalry actually being pretty good. I, of course, don't know that I'm up against Salamangreat, but I figure they're probably going to go into a monster that's not a machine, so I'll just Rivalry here. But, yeah, even an Eldlich deck that was optimally built, I think would still struggle going second. So, yeah, this loner deck especially does. I don't have a spell or trap in hand to send with the Eldlich, so I can't summon either of the ones in my hand. I'm just going to defend with the Conquistador. Alright, here I am going to use the Eldlich. I'll even send the Skill Drain in my hand, right? They have a Maxi, we have an Ash Blossom for that I don't end up using, right, because I'm only going to get one summon here, so I don't really care about that. But yeah, I'll give up, it might look weird to give up Skill Drain here, but the way I figure, it's more important to have the Eldlich body on the board, and we are already controlling them down pretty sufficiently with the Rivalry, to the point that, yeah, our opponent's not even going to want to play the game out here. They're just going to immediately concede at this stage, which, again, I don't consider, or I don't blame them for it. Like, especially in Best of One, like, and this is a question I've had people ask me before, because people will ask me, like, you know, for any given deck, really, that I play, not any specific one, like, why aren't you playing Harpy's Feather Duster? What if you go second against Stun and they flip a Floodgate? And it's like, you know, if I happen to match against Stun, and I happen to go second, and I happen to not be able to play through it any other way, then, yeah, I'll probably just concede here, because, like, really, you know, especially if you're playing a one-of, like, Feather Duster for exactly Stun, it's like, there's so many ifs to that. Like, okay, if I play against Stun, if they go first, if they set a bunch of Floodgates, if I don't have another out, if I draw my one-of Harpy's Feather Duster, then I can beat them. But it's like, you can beat them a lot of other ways too, than relying on a one of in your deck. And the one of in the deck, I think the one of Harpy's Feather Duster will be more of a detriment in the long run than a benefit. But we have one more game to check out here before we end off. Let's end on that one. All right, last opponent's going to be on Bystial Runick, which is a very, very cool deck that I haven't played with or against in quite some time. I've been meaning to go back to that deck at some point and try to learn it a little bit better. But mostly because I have a Royal of both Ecclesia and Bystial Aliber. It's like, that's the only deck where I'm going to use both of them, right? So, here I'm going to use the Eldlich to summon out Eldlich from deck, set 3, and then pass the opponent. So no floodgates here, we have a lot of disruption. 2 Imperms, Ash, and the Conquistador for a pop. Bystial Rebellion is going to start by grabbing the Bystial Aliber here. Runick Fountain coming down, activating the Smiting Storm to summon out the Hugin. Normal summoning the Bystial Aliber, they now get to sink for 6, going for the Coral Dragon. I'm probably going to use the Conquistador on the Fountain here, but I'm holding it for the moment. I am going to use the Imperm on the Magnum Hut, though, because I don't want to end up in a situation where they're searching a Bystial, getting rid of my Eldlich, and then banishing it, right? That would be very, very bad for me. So I'm just going to Imperm that Magnum Hut and try to not deal with any Bystials eating my Eldlich here. Conquistador, I was planning on using against the Bystial Rebellion here, because I wondered if they were out of Runick spells. But no, they're not. They get to use their Runick spell to summon a Hugin, and then use the Hugin to protect their monster. Very, very good play on their part. I will Ash their Fountain draws here. And I'm kind of hoping they're out of stuff at this point. We do still have an Imperm if they have more to go into here. I'll allow them to Imperm. I didn't think they were going to be on like the trap card, the branded continuous trap, right? So, yeah, here comes Little Knight. Little Knight F on the Conquistador. Coral Dragon F also lets them draw a card here. I'm going to let them banish the Conquistador. I'm not going to use Imperm because they can just dodge it with the second effect of Little Knight anyway, so. Drawing for a turn to getting a Scarlet Sanguine. I'm going to move to battle here. They have a Runick Tip to search for the Slumber, though, which means they can protect their Little Knight and also get more draws with the Fountain. Very, very not good for me. I very much needed that draw to be, like, literally anything that wasn't Runick Tip or Slumber. And I think I could have managed to start pulling ahead a little bit here. To be fair, though, at the same time, it could have been very easy for my opponent to just have another Runick spell anyway, or top deck one, and then start cycling back into the advantage engine. That's the thing about a lot of control decks, that a lot of them are based on these kind of advantage engines. Eldlich is fine, but kind of slow. The fact that your trap cards can cycle into other cards is pretty good, but a lot of them only do it during the end phase. I think all of them can't do it the same turn you actually use the effect, which for the time they came out is definitely appropriate balancing, but for 2024 Yu-Gi-Oh! Eldlich is definitely feeling very power creeps. Like, think about even other decks like Branded and Labyrinth and their resource loops, and like, compare that to the resource loop of Eldlich, and it's just, you know, one is very obviously better than the other, right? So, yeah, at this point, I'll just concede. I don't really have much expectations of being able to come back, rather, from this stage of the game. So, that's going to end up doing it. Those are all the games that I played with the... Well, not all the games. I had some going second games where, again, I was like, not that great. But, yeah, those are my games here with this Loner deck. We do still, of course, have the Evil Twin Loner. We're going to play that one tomorrow. If you like these videos, by the way, because I'm having a lot of fun kind of playing a challenge build, I guess, on ladder. So if you want to see more stuff like this, I know someone suggested, like, why not take structure decks to rank ladder and see how well you can do? It's like, yeah, that's not a horrible idea. So let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. But that'll be all for this video. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details, again, will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description, linked below, is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs, as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.